Waste not, want not. Hi everybody, Creative Katie Karen Burchill here. And in today's video, I'm going to create this art journal tag using leftovers. You heard me. I'm going to create art using leftovers. So this tag started actually 2-3 weeks ago where I had some Prussian blue leftovers. I grabbed this dish liner and using it as a stamp, applied some of the Prussian blue in this pattern onto this 8x4, believe it's a size 12 tag. And then that stayed in my stash for, well, 3 weeks. Love the patterning, love the color, had no idea what I was going to do to finish this off or when I was going to use it. So 2 weeks later, I finished the project and I had more leftover paint. There was a huge amount of Naples yellow down below and a little bit of burnt sienna. So I decided I'm going to take some of that Naples yellow, water it down with some water right on my craft mat, and I'm going to apply it to this tag. I thought, you know what? The blue is going to look good with the yellow. Let's see where this can go. So I'm just smooshing it on. Thinning out the paint lets the paint go a little bit further because you're adding water. And smooshing gives a very organic feel. Can leave a lot of white space if you stop sooner than later. And it's just covering up. It didn't block out the pattern below that I stamped 2 weeks ago. It's adding a nice, interesting layer of color. So I grab my heat tool and I make sure that this is completely dry before I move to the next step of using up the leftover burnt sienna. So again, I find myself using basically the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, on this background. And so I thinned out the burnt sienna, and then I'm adding some of the burnt sienna to the page, to my background. And I can't tell you, this is a very accidental background, very little pre-planning, pre-thought went into it. I'm typically just using what's within hand's reach and what's left over in the colors of paint. And I love this background. So I would do this background again on purpose if I wanted to do it on a bigger art journal page. That's one of the reasons I like doing tags, because there's no risk. It's not precious, and I will take chances and come up with something great. So I also had a little bit of black acrylic paint left over, so I grabbed my script stamp, I brayer it on, and then I'm adding a little bit of script to the background. And my background is complete. How easy is that? Now, I had no intention of actually finishing this page, but it happens so quickly and easily that once I cleaned my stamp, I sprayed Murphy's oil soap on the stamp when I use acrylic paint, and I get that off because you do not want to wreck your stamps. And I'm trying to keep my surface area clean because I do have that other side of the tag is done. Now I'm grabbing some of that black acrylic paint again that was left over, and I'm edging my tag. So here I wanted to use up the paints that were on my palette. Inevitably, I pour out too much paint and I don't want to waste it, but you have to have a plan for what to use it. So I have an accidental art journal in a composition book that I can put the leftover paint on, or I have a whole bunch of these size 12 tags that I just cut out right in front of me. So I can easily grab them and use up the paint and then leave it there for a day like today when I just take it and run with it and finish it. So now I grabbed a whole bunch of my focal images, and I have an assortment of focal images in a bin off to my left side, and I have them in these These are cellophane packs from 6x6 stencils that I'm just reusing the packaging. And I'm just additioning various things from my stash on the tag and making a decision. Okay, what do I want to use here? What works, what doesn't? And I just pull out a bunch and put it on and see. I either like it and it goes in the possible pile, or I don't like it. I love this fairy on here, but I tend to overdo fairies. I like the shape of it, ties in with the shape of that Prussian blue stamping that we put at the very beginning. Then I have these woodland animals that I got from Dollar Tree. It was in a booklet, very thin paper. This owl kind of looks good on here. I like that look. The rabbit doesn't go as well. The bird, I like the little bit of orange at the top of the bird, and he's kind of blued in, kind of ties in. The raccoon, love him, but he's too big for the tag. These are all some embellishments that I've created by stenciling, by stamping, and when I have excess, I just keep them in these plastic cellophane packs. Ooh, those starfish look good because of the color. So don't be afraid. You do the background and then, or have several backgrounds, and then get out your collection of ephemera, collection of focal images that are ready to go and mix and match. Ooh, I like this flower. That navy really ties in, the shape ties in with that Prussian blue stamping that we put first on that tag. Really liking how that looks. Hmm. And as you go, ooh, I like the bird with the blue flowers. And decision made. I'm ready to glue down everything using my fluid matte medium. So these are also leftovers that, I had cut out for another project, ended up not using them or changing my mind in some way, shape, or form. So they've just been sitting in my stash. So have your stash at the ready, have a variety of those. I keep them in the bin right to the left-hand side. And some days I just challenge myself to use what's in the bin instead of going into my filing cabinet in looking for anything else. So once that's dry, I'm cutting off the excess. And I decide I want to add a line with the white Posca pen. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it going. I do get it going, but then technology fooled me and I lost the footage of me putting a white line around both of the flowers. But there it is. I just made it stand out a little bit more. Add another element. Here I'm just adding a little, making it a little bit more opaque in areas. Give it a good dry before I start gluing. I don't want to smear it. So I glue the bird down with my fluid matte medium and a saying. I said, today I will be happier than a bird with a French fry. Now I wanted to brighten up the color of the bird. It was very light and I wanted it to stand out a little bit more. Now it's been sealed with a coat of fluid matte medium on top. And that makes it easy for me to colorize this with acrylic paint like I'm doing here. If you wanted to use markers, you could use that. But you want to seal it and turn it into a non-porous surface. So here I'm just making the bird stand out a little bit, tweaking those colors of the wing, of the tail, of the body. I'm grabbing a little bit of that Prussian blue, mixing it, and I'm just making the tail and the wing a little bit bluer so it ties in with the blue in the background. It is more green than blue, so I'm changing it just with a wash. Then I'm adding a little bit of white in there just to make the feathers of on the breast, and a little bit of shading. I'm just doing the finishing steps, shading, highlighting, doing what I can to make that focal image stand out against my beautiful background. Somebody was asking what I do with the tags. I mean, you could use this on an art journal page. This is a double-sided because I'm just maximizing using the tags. But if it was one-sided, that could be glued on as the focal image on an art journal page. I could put them together on a uh, binder circles, and that's how I have it. Um, these are also ideas for other art journal pages. I might look at this and say, oh, I remember this background. I like this background. I like the color combo. I like um, the mark makers that I used. I'm going to use that again. So every page I do, every tag I do is becomes part of my portfolio and part of I can flip through there and say, oh, I really like this idea. Let me run with this. Or I remember that technique, or I like how this looked, or the opposite is true. I don't like how this looks, so I'm going to not do this again. Grab my Posca pen in black, and I'm just outlining the sentiment just to make it stand out. The tags I tend to do very, very simply, very plain. It's just about fun and enjoying the process. A quick, easy. This one took about 20 minutes from start to finish. And again, it used leftovers, things I already had within arm's reach and leftover paint. Just adding some line work around the edge just to finish it off a little bit more. And again, I'm not sweating if it's not perfectly straight. Give up the idea of perfection. This could also be given as a alternative to a greeting card. Put a magnet on it, could be a fridge magnet. And then I think I'm grabbing my gold splatter paint, my fan brush, and I'm going to splatter some gold on here because, well, you always need a little more bling. Really happy with the background here. We'll definitely use that same kind of technique to do the same background on a mixed media piece. Again, I used my sink liner. This is just cut. I have many of these stamps, different sizes. I use them on my gel plate. So go. What's in your stash? Go use your leftovers and create art. Until next time, go get creative.